Chevra Torah.
Okay. It is now good. Cindy, what?
Just wanted to remind everyone, on Wednesday, we're closing registration for Sukkot. We're going to have a lovely cantorial concert. We have to do it as happy hour just because that's when Irmis is available. The registration was in Thursday's email from the temple. Also, you could go to the calendar October 1st. Lots of us are going. Marina's going, Mara, Doris, Diane, Risa. So there'll be a nice presence from Chevra Torah, and we hope the rest of the women will join us and we could see you in person for a lovely afternoon.
Okay, thank you. Now, this is Shabbat. This is what happens when I get up too early. I'm already ready to nap. This is Shabbat Shuvah, the Shabbat in between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. Some of you may be aware of the fact that Sunday evening, Kol Nidre, and the beginning of Yom Kippur. You probably have picked up on that. That's great. The word Shuvah means two things, really, but really the same: returning and forgiveness. It is the Shabbat of returning. It is a Shabbat of forgiveness. Shuvu b'nei Yisrael, return. People are called upon to return to God. It is, as Rabbi Leader properly pointed out last night, and as I know from 6 decades worth of synagogue work, Shabbat Shuvah tends to be a very low attendance service. It just does. I mean, people gave their all for Rosh Hashanah, and they're preparing to give their all for Yom Kippur. Shabbat Shuvah, maybe I'll just stay home and eat a chicken leg. Very, very, very small attendance. But it was a beautiful, nice evening. Shabbat Shuvah asks us to concentrate. Shabbat Shuvah's goal is to help us get our minds ready for Yom Kippur and Kol Nidre and the whole work of atonement, which leads me into a 7-hour discourse on, I love most of all, running into people who say, I haven't been to services in 10 years, so I stopped by and I attended service, and it didn't do much for me. And the fact of the matter is that you can't just drop into a service and have it suddenly appear meaningful to you. There's a work of preparation. There's a work of acculturation and of getting used to it and relaxing and figuring out what your place is there. And the individual who drops by, we welcome them, but it doesn't work very much. Shabbat Shuvah is saying, hey, Yom Kippur is coming. Do us all a favor. Start getting ready for Yom Kippur now, getting some of your thoughts focused. And that's what it's about. I also wanted to point out, because Kevin just popped up on the screen. Let's see, where is Kevin? Kevin was here. Did I lose? Where is Kevin? Kevin, where are you?
I'm sorry, I'm on my iPhone and I'm trying to get my name to show, so I'm just a blank character.
Just pay attention. Aviva and I had to go to replace my earring because I was casual enough to lose it. And we went to a mall and there were like 7 or 8 jewelry stores. And what did I know for which one do we go to? Oh, I said, look, there's a jewelry store called Kevin. Let's go there. Okay, so
I've worked for him before.
I'm sorry?
I've worked for Kevin Jewelers before.
Okay, that made it even better. I didn't know.
I-
Anyway, so Kevin, thank you very much. I was able to replace my earring and we were celebrating your identity at the same time. There is a question, Brad, and let me just handle it as best I can. Thank you for asking about Aviva. Aviva is home. She had major surgery on Monday, an incredibly large scar. Nowadays, usually get these little things. She has a pretty big one. And she is certainly healing from the surgery. And our prayers and concerns are we will get the path report Monday, Tuesday, probably. And then we will know what we're looking at. But everything to this point looks good.
Amen.
And we're going to keep it there. So thank you and just thank you. Okay. So this is Shabbat Shuvah. And because of Shabbat Shuvah, we have the special Haftarah. And I want to turn to page 1436 in the Plout. I do not have it in any other setting. So 1436 in the Plout, the special Haftarah for Shabbat Shuvah, the Sabbath of return. And you will notice on page 1436, opening line, Shuvah Yisrael ad Adonai Elohecha, return, O Israel, to the eternal your God. Okay, so that's why it was selected, and it uses the word shuv. It uses the word shuvah. Am I hearing myself, or what? I'm hearing an echo or something. It has the word shuvah in there a number of times. The first thing I wanted to point out, 14:2, for you have stumbled in your iniquity. Please, we're going to be doing this a lot today. What does the word stumbled mean to you? You have stumbled in your iniquity. What does it mean to you? Okay, I see Susie.
I think it means you have faltered. You have lost your balance, your way of being there.
Perfect, lovely. Okay, floundered, lost your balance. It reduces the level of intentionality. Kashalta. You know, people mess up. They stumble. We're not talking about the mass sin committer. We're talking about human beings. Kashalta. You know, life is complicated. You make mistakes. Return, Israel. You have stumbled. And I want to focus on verse 2. Oh, no, excuse me, it's verse 3, the second verse. Kachu imachem dvarim shuvu el Adonai. Take words with you and return to the eternal. I have to tell you, this is a really important, simple throwaway phrase, but it has deep content. Kachu imachem dvarim. Take words with you. Why is taking words with you important to the process of seeking forgiveness? Why? And that's a real question for real people to try to answer. Why is there a command, take words with you when you try to find forgiveness? Why? Why is that important? Any thoughts? Eric, Eric said what? A contract?
Words with you.
Okay, Risa.
Here before you go, you have to already have thought through what it is that you're trying to say and give it your full consideration.
Okay, so one thing that we can say is when you think through what the process ought to yield for you, you are on the way toward the forgiveness situation. But there's more. Kachu imechem devarim. Take words with you. I'm going to postulate something. Donna?
Take the words of God with you, the teachings of the Torah with you.
I like that. Fine. Okay. Take with you the teachings that you have learned. Take those words with you. Cool. Yes. I'm going to say something else. And in a way, it was part of the political conversation in this country, even 5 years ago. When you name it, you own it. When you name it, you own it. Take with you words. I have been this. I have been that. Take with you words. Identify what it is you are trying to fix in your own souls and your behavior, in your relationships with others. Take with you words that you have examined. When you name it, you own it. And if you don't name it, you don't own it. And this is true for a whole variety in life, a whole variety. Eric Weiss, you had your hand up.
Yes, it's like you take the recipe with you, so you can cook your meal anywhere. As long as you have the recipe, you can do the meal. You know what I mean?
I know what you mean. It's just hard for me to picture doing that on Yom Kippur, but I understand what you're saying.
But it's like I think of this as re-signing the collective bargaining agreement with the Jewish people. Every time we go to Yom Kippur, it's contract signing time. As a former observer of labor negotiations.
Okay, so that is certainly an interesting take on what goes on Yom Kippur. And anyway, we are renegotiating the terms of our relationship with God and with other people, and that requires being specific. Oh God, I've been a miserable person. I could say that, and it'd be true, but it's not specific enough. It doesn't talk about the things we are trying to deal with. Donna.
Am I muted? No. I think that we really have to admit the root.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you. I don't know why. I'm sorry, Donna, I don't hear you.
I'll come back later.
Okay, we'll get back to you, I promise. Brad?
Rabbi, I think it's saying it's not just a question of feeling regret or feeling remorse, but it's got to be verbally expressed to that person to whom you have sinned.
Okay, so verbally expressed to the person against whom you've sinned, that's part of it. I mean, there's a whole wide range of sins, but I just love the notion when you say it, you own it. Mara, Harv.
If we're part of a community, then it's incumbent upon us to speak out loud what we have done, so that others also recognize perhaps what they've done. But it's the communal part that I think is important in terms of speaking out loud.
I love it. What you're saying as well is that the effort to make Yom Kippur real is also an opportunity to model. What we are doing is something which should be done within the context of the community, and we feel it. And when we do it, it's easier for others to do it. and it's a communal effort. That's why we show up in synagogue on Yom Kippur. That's why we do that. Okay, what do we have here? No more hands. Okay, now there is also in verse 5 I wanted to point to. Verse 5, another really famous verse. I will heal their disloyalty. I will love them freely. Loving them freely. I'm going to love them more than they deserve, God says. You know, our relationship isn't a one-to-one. If we do a good forgiveness move, God will give us 15 degrees of good approval. To love someone nidava, it's a great expression. To love someone nidava is to love them in a way which isn't a quid pro quo for what they've done for us. That's what I meant. Good. Well done. To love someone, when you look at a baby, how easy is it to love the baby nidava? What do you want from the kid? You know, burp? Fine, good, well done. But to love them without a demand for something in return and not in payment for what the other did for us. In my mind, loving someone nidava is a very high level of relationship. I love you for the person you are. Every once in a while, I will say that in a note to people I am very closely attached to. And I sometimes will say, thank you for being you. You understand what I was trying to do with that? Thank you for being, not thank you for sending me the note, not thank you for, offering to drive or to pick up some food, not thank you for taking a big responsibility in the synagogue. Thank you for being you. That's a beautiful thing to be able to say, and we don't say it about a lot of people because it's really not possible. Thank you for being. God says in this context, I will love you nidava. It's not a quid pro quo. I will love you. And of course, it would be wonderful if in return, we can love God and others nidava. Any question? We're going to move on. Any question? Tamara says, oh, what do you say? Ooh. Will you also say something about the metaphor for God in verse 6? I don't know if I'm ready. Okay. Tamara?
Yeah.
You're doing a good job of leading me, and I'm falling off the wagon here. Please help me through what you're suggesting.
Well, the prophet says God will be to Israel like dew, the image and his blossoms, and he will blossom like a lily and will sink in roots like the cedar tree of Lebanon. The image of God as tal, as this gentle dew that just envelops you time and time again, is such a healing image of God, as opposed to the more fierce images of God elsewhere. It's just this gentle witness dew that nourishes you and allows you both to blossom in beauty, but also to sink in roots, because it has a certain permanence and gentleness. I just love that image.
I was going to say that before she interrupted me. Yes, thank you. Thank you very much, Tau. Yeah, it's a nice Hebrew name too, Tau. The gentle dew. The gentle dew that represents one element of our relationship with God. And then I have, thank you, verse 10. The wise shall understand these things. The discerning shall know them, that straight are the ways of the eternal, while the righteous walk in them, transgressors stumble on them. I have the lovely image of a straight line and somebody stumbling over it. You know, it should be easy to walk a straight line, but there are people who can't, and they see a straight line, they fall over it. And God's ways are straight. How do you avoid stumbling over a straight line? How do you do that? How do you avoid stumbling over a straight line? What do you have to do? Tamara, go ahead, please. No? Okay. Okay, Susie, and then, yeah, Susie, then Merle.
I think you avoid the stumbling by focusing on the straight line so that you don't stumble over it. You have to focus, you have to keep your mind set at all times related to God.
I love that. Merle.
Well, the same thing that Susie just said, but also I'm thinking that you have to be aware of where you're going, which is focusing.
Yeah.
Keep your eye on the prize.
Keep your eye on the prize. And all right, Marina. Are you with us?
I think you can also elevate yourself to get over the straight line. So get elevated in your thoughts and your efforts.
This is all very good in getting ready for Yom Kippur. You know, doing the right thing isn't complicated. God speaks in simple ways. Open your eyes, make the effort, name the problems, and go forward. And stumble, because we're going to stumble. And know that whatever it means when I say God loves us freely, and I don't mean what it literally says, it's more complicated than that. But understand that you're in a world in which the effort to do good is a basic building block for our survival. Mara?
Oh, just a comment that we're told that the paths, plural, are smooth, meaning that there's no one way. There are many ways.
But if you leave the path, you can stumble.
Yeah, if you leave the path, you can stumble hard, but you can even stumble while you're trying to stay on the path. You know, there are very few of us, maybe, no, let's not even be cynical here. Nobody can walk without stumbling. And that's part of what the Yom Kippur experience says too. Of course you stumble. We stumble. but then you pick yourself up, you figure out what went wrong, and you go forward in a world in which you believe that things will be better because you attempt to live better, because you believe that. Okay, Donna?
Can you hear me now?
Could I just add to that, that I think Torah study all year, you show us many different paths to understanding God, and that's all part of this.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rabbi, because I stumble over.
Okay. That you just gave me a heavy burden, Mara. Okay. Thank you for that. Thank you. Donna, do you have something to say? If not, we're going to move on.
Thank you for what you said, because we're, when it comes to protecting our families around the world, I've been in situations where it looked like I was stumbling with that.
It's mumbled.
And then stumbling. It looked like I was so relatable, because you do things that be relatable to women's hearts to reach them where they're at. It's not like a broken wing. You got to pretend to be a bird with a broken wing to reach a bird with a broken wing.
Okay. Thank you for that. Now we're gonna just mention a few incidental dates. Not important. Kol Nidre, Sunday evening, September 24th. After Havdalah, there's going to be, and I have no idea what this means. After Havdalah, which follows Ne'ilah, Havdalah, there's going to be a special honoring of Cantor Don Gurney. I don't know what that means. And I'm just saying it's going to be there. And then there is going to be a break the fast. I know what that means. That means that at the end of Yom Kippur, I will add weight, which is wrong. Erev Sukkot is, Friday evening, September 29th. September 30th, which is the first morning of Sukkot. Yes, we are having Chevra Torah on schedule, regular. We're not going to stop for that. I want to mention that one of the most significant cultural experiences of the year will occur on October 11th, in which my book partner, Dr. Professor Leah Hockman, and I will be reviewing our new book in the Sukkah, October 11th. Okay? So we're going to be doing that as part of a program for Wilshire Boulevard Temple. And it's kind of interesting what's happening with that. Cindy gave your announcement about the Sukkot. Do you want to just give a quick tamtzid, a quick summary, and we'll move on? Sisterhood activities, Sukkot.
October 1st, 3 to 5, happy hour in the Sukkah. There'll be luscious appetizers, drinks, and desserts. We'll be talking about the 7 species. Rabbi Nanas will do a short Sukkot presentation. And then Cantor Lisa, and then Cantor Lizzie Weiss from Emmanuel will be doing a musical presentation. Lisa will be doing something operatic, because that's her background. And Lizzie Weiss will be doing something from musical theater, because it's going to be their music outside of the Bima. So we'll get to know them a little bit. And it's just going to be a lovely afternoon under the Sukkah at Irma's. It's $18, and you can sign up either through the calendar or through the weekly.
And could I just throw in, those are great, and I hope everyone attends. That concert's going to be fabulous. It's going to be fabulous. Those are 2 beautiful singers. If you have a chance to go down to Pico Robertson after Yom Kippur, before Sukkot, and just to wander around and see the lulav selling and the sukkah decorating selling and all that. It's kind of it's a wonderful little experience. It's kind of mini Israel where that happens all the time. And just to do that. Thank you, Cindy, for mentioning those things. And Jim is not on. I don't know of any movie, but Jim is not on, so I can't turn to him. We're going to go to our Sedra. We're going to go to page 1400, easy to find. And this is a Sedra Torah portion, which is what, 52 verses long. It is like not long. It is very, very short. And that makes up for the fact that during Sukkot, the Shabbat during Sukkot, we have one of the longest services of the year with all kinds of extra readings. Deuteronomy chapter 32, verse 1, page 1400. And the Sedra is called Ha'azinu. It is a poem, a shirah. Now, the author of the poem is Moses. Where else do we have a Moses shirah, a Moses song in the Torah? Where else? Oh, come on.
At the Red Sea.
Donna, go ahead, please.
Michamocha.
Okay, come on. You're going to be studying this stuff seriously. What chapter, what book?
It's somewhere in Exodus, I believe.
Somewhere in Exodus works, but it is chapter 15. Okay, this is, you're going to have to know this stuff. I'm sorry. The Exodus 15, chapter 15, the book of Exodus, we have the Song of the Sea, thus did Moses and the children of Israel, Miriam, the women, the whole thing. Exodus 15, the famous song. Now, the difference, if you would look in your spare time to Exodus chapter 15 and read aloud the Song of the Sea.
I know it by heart.
Okay, you're entitled. That's good. Then you read Deuteronomy chapter 32. Two poems ascribed to Moses, and they could not be more different. They could not be more different. The Exodus chapter 15 is considered to be one of the oldest, maybe the oldest writings in the Torah. It's really old. And you know because of its images, and we know because of the world it describes. When you look at chapter 32, you find a description of God's relationship to the Jewish people, which is much more, I don't want to say advanced, but it's more recent than the Song of the Sea. It actually comes, as best we can tell, from a much later period. Identifying the time of some of these writings is complicated. You look in chapter 32 of Deuteronomy of the things that the Israelites have suffered, okay? You look at the things they've suffered, and they're a treacherous breed. God says, they incensed me, I burned them, I sweep misfortunes, I let loose pestilence and sword and this and that. And one punishment is missing. And that's very helpful. There's no exile here in chapter 32. So it kind of tells us that chapter 32 probably was written very late in the days of the first kingdom, but not after the Babylonian captivity. This is how scholars kind of look around. They name all the things, the bad things that happened to us, but surely the author would have named exile if this was post-exilic. So it's probably not. Heavy emphasis on what word? Probably. Probably not. Okay. And this reading is beautiful. In verse 2, Tamara's do, D-E-W, is back. Do is a very beautiful theme here. Give ear, ha'azinu hashamayim. Ozen is ear. Laha'azin is to hear or to earify. To ha'azinu, listen with your ears. Let me speak. Let the earth hear what I'm saying. What's the significance of the opening addressees in this poem? What's the significance of the opening addressees? You have two addressees, right? Who are they?
Heaven and earth.
Heaven and earth. What's the point? What is the author of this beautiful poem trying to do right at the beginning? Opening. What's he trying to do? Tamara.
He's calling on the whole world, the whole natural world, to be witnesses to what Israel is, what God is, and what that history is about.
This is a powerful expression. Heaven and earth, let them witness what I'm about to describe, right? And it is not an unusual thing within the biblical context. Heaven and earth, heaven and earth. When you address heaven and earth, you are addressing the eternal, if you will, foundations. And Ya'arov Kamata, this stuff is so pretty, so beautiful. May my discourse come down as the dew. And I think of the word discourse, and forgive me, some of this ranges into Hebrew awareness. You'll have to trust me on this. There is an expression, ki lekach tov natati lachem. I have given you a wondrous possession. And here it says, let my lekach come down as a gentle dew. Torah is our lekach. Ki lekach tov natati lechem torati al ta'azovu. I have given you a good lekach. I have given you a good possession. Here the poet author says, let my lekach, and by that we know the author means Torah. Okay? It is the possession of the Jewish people. Let my lekach come down like rain, my speech flow like dew. What's the role of dew and rain in the Middle East, but in the world? What is it? How does he describe the impact of Torah on life?
It's
Nourishment.
Rebecca.
Nourishment.
It's nourishment. It's
Yeah,
nourishment.
It's not just moral instruction. It's nourishment. It feeds our roots. It allows the leaves to grow. It allows the fruit to be produced off of the trees. That's what Torah is. Don't put Torah in a box. It isn't just what we do in temple. Don't put it in a box. Torah is the dew that nurtures our lives. And by the way, if you don't go out in the dew, it won't nurture you.
Rabbi, may I share with
How
you what you're
about
saying?
that as a mandate? Did you ever go out intentionally into the rain? Did you ever do that? Okay, I see some smiles. Rebecca, what's the experience like? Not being caught in the rain and you're well dressed and you're miserable, your hair is ruined. Not that. But when you see the rain and you choose to go out. Rebecca, tell me about that.
It's refreshing. It's refreshing. The air smells good. It's clean. It's just refreshing.
Thank you, Susie.
I think of the purity of the rain that comes down, the purity of the dew.
Okay. You know that I am married to a woman who has certain weird predilections. We were walking in Manhattan. I will never forget the day. We had to go down to Rockefeller Center, whatever. And I'm in a very nice coat and I'm properly prepared against the rain. And I say something stupid like, let's grab a cab. And the answer is no. It's so beautiful. The rain, it wasn't a hard rain. It was a beautiful rain. And I'll never forget that moment. Rain in that setting, the dew, the rain, not only gives us life, but it gives us joy. The poet is describing Torah, not just harsh learning. Torah, the way it's meant to be understood. I have to stop talking. I'm enjoying this.
May I help you with that one? The words in the Torah. We were talking about our words earlier. What we say, our words we speak. We're a reflection of the Torah. And He nourishes us, and then we speak. God speaks through us. It's God's words in that Torah that are so sacred and special. A love story, a love letter to us.
Okay, thank you. We move on. I just like this, like showers. By the way, here are different words. You have rain, you have dew, you have showers, you have droplets. The author is trying to make a point, right? That the nourishing, beautiful, gentle. Okay, it's not the same thing if you get caught in a thunderstorm. I will agree. Okay, but that's not what he's talking about. Okay. I'm going to call upon the name of God. Havu Godel Lelohenu. Now, this is a 40-point extra credit question. Havu Godel Lelohenu. Ascribe greatness and give glory to God. Where does that phrase appear in the prayer book?
In the Torah service.
Who said that?
Steve.
In funeral.
I cut off your microphone. The answer is correct. It's in the you get the 40 extra. It's in the Torah service. Havu Godel Eloheinu. This is part of, that's where it comes from, right here. And now get the contrast. Dew, gentle rain, droplets, and God is Hatsur. What's the contrast? God is the rock. Okay, do you see what the poet is doing? Right? Torah is a nurturing dew, but the source of Torah is the eternal rock, Sur. Where do we hear the word Sur? In the Hanukkah service. We're doing
Rock of Ages.
Donna.
Steve said it. Ma'oz.
Well, Steve calls out. We don't have to hear that. Ma'oz Sur, rock of ages, or whatever that means. Ma'oz Sur, the rock, whose works are perfect because God's ways are just. El Emunah. These phrases are often found in a funeral service. I'm glad you're not familiar, and I'm glad you don't know. But I would frequently read these words from the Reform Rabbinic Manual for Funeral Services. These words are there because it is describing God in the midst of human pain and saying, God is just, God is faithful, God is never false, God is true. Sadiq v'yasharhu, God is Sadiq. There is an expression in Hebrew, tziduk hadin. We Jews are not blind to what appear to be injustices in life. The tziduk hadin is a justification of divine justice. And that's what these verses are. You can reject them, but what the author is saying in the author's faith, God is just even when we do not understand. I have a bunch of hands. I see Risa, I see Brad.
I was just thinking that Surah Yisrael brings us back to the Declaration of Independence.
Yes, thank you. Because Risa, go on, add the next verse. What does that mean?
They didn't want to use Adonai, and they agreed to Tzur as the reference, the strength that will be behind Israel.
So in the making of the Israeli Declaration of Independence, the very few ultra-Orthodox who were involved wanted Adonai Elohim, some divine reference in the Declaration of Independence. The rabid secularists and socialists, who were the majority at that point, wanted nothing to do with God, no reference to God. And the compromise was to use Sur Yisrael, because Hebrew has no capital letters. Is that good? No capital letters. So they could say, we want the rock. We mean the tradition of the Jewish people, the history. That's the rock of who we are. And the Orthodox, oh, sure, Israel, that's God. And then they could all walk away happy. Yeah, thank you, Brad.
Now, well, Kevin just put my thought in writing in the notes about whether the rock and the water evokes Moses and striking the rock and water coming forth.
Yes, the images in here are beautiful. The rock can certainly speak of the rock and water. Even a rock can be made to yield nurturing water. Yes. And then Larry Kushner's favorite quote comes from here. You know Larry Kushner, who no longer is writing Kabbalistic, mystical items like that, but one of his most famous books is Honey from the Rock. And it comes right out of this chapter. It comes right out of this chapter. Honey from the Rock. We are moving. I love this. And I want to point out, I have to move further here. God's ways are just, and this is the justification of God's actions. Who is at fault? You guys, unworthy, crooked, perverse, base. Okay, see, can you look at verse 6 in the Hebrew? You won't be required to read it. Look at verse 6 in the Hebrew and tell me what you see. What do you see? Steve.
A very large hay.
Yeah, there's a very large hay. And I will tell you that thank God for that very large hay, because it gave the rabbis lots of time to write midrashim on what that hay is all about. And
It's a capital letter.
it is not a capital letter, and you know that. Who knows how that large hay got in there? Oh, you dull and witless people. Do you think that the guy is praising the Jewish people too much? Is this God? Is how you remember that? And then there is so much here. I want to go to an eagle image. Okay. Verse 11. Like an eagle who rouses its nestlings, gliding down to its young, so did God spread wings and take them, bear them on its pinions. Do you understand the problem that a huge mother eagle confronts when trying to spread her wings and cover her babies? She could crush them. And the image here is of God like this eagle, who can bring the presence of God and the power of God to protect the people without crushing us. One of the midrashim in dealing with this image, most birds carry their young in their talons.
So that they don't crush them.
But the eagle carries them on its back. Because the eagle doesn't fear being attacked from above. The eagle's fear is arrows shot from below.
The wings of eagles from the Entebbe rescue. The Entebbe rescue, remember that?
Of course.
The wings of the eagles, they took them on the El Al and to Israel, the Ethiopians, whatever they did. So I'm not the Ethiopians, they
were rescued people from a flight. Yes.
From flight, on the wings of eagles. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, and that's true. One of the powerful images in Torah is the image of God as an eagle. By the way, that helps us understand that the Holy Land 3,000 years ago was filled with wild animals that no longer dwell there. Before the Turks, 18th centuries, before the forests were cut down and the animals driven out. It was once a very different place. And one of the things that the Jewish National Fund always has been doing is the planting of trees to make it possible to live again in that place. We have to stop. We have to stop to do Kaddish. Okay. I am just saying 52 verses. If you have a chance, open up the book, read them, and let them come alive to you. We're going to go to Kaddish, and I'm going to wish each of you Gemar Chatima Tova. Have a good sealing of the book of life, or you can say Gemar Tov. It is still possible to say Shana Tova, because Jewish tradition says it's up until the middle of Sukkot that the book really isn't closed. Okay, so we have a little bit of flex time to go forward. Thank you for today. Thank you.
Thank you for today.
We mentioned the names
Thank you.
that passed away during the past month. Selma Bell, David Green, Elaine Gumpert, Eric Jonathan Hammermash, Marshall Klein, Linda Lubitz, Dora Mandel, Stanley Simon, Norma Temkin, Judy Wunsch. And the following the yahrzeits of whose deaths have occurred during this past week: Robert Adlin, Esther Altabet, Doris Backrack, James Bacon, Lola Benfield, Francis Burris, Lena Brandis, Ronald Brock, Ethel Brauda, Hermione Brown, Stephen St. Clair Butterworth, Barnett Cooperman, Suzanne Koritz, Solomon David Dow, Frieda Deutsch, Sue Dorskin, Richard Epstein, Carrie Ettinger, Elise Dobson Falkoff, Anna Fine, Rose Fisher, Edward Flam, Kevin Flanagan, Arthur Frankel, Nathan Friedman, Ray Garchman, Henry Gavin, Don Geller, Dorothy Glenell, Gregory Gockstein, Betty Haddon, Dolores Sarah Heller, Marshall Otis Hervey, Leon Heyman, Gail Hughes, Scott Jacks, John Jaffe, Rose Jankin, Lillian Katz, Jay Kessler, Molly Kirshner, Adele Koenig, Elsa Kunin, Gertrude Kushner, Sylvia Lackman, Adele Laxer, Leonard Leader, Mike Lesak, Harriet Levy, Sybil Adel Lewenstein, June Love, Joseph LaBelle, Lillian Lynn, Judd McGelnick, Louis Mallon, Charles Melvoin, Harry Miller, Bernice Miller, Nathan Milner, Myron Nalabatsky, Saul Orland, Paul Orloff, Mina Ostro, Bruce Packman, Albert Peskin, Parvis Pernazar, Martin Poe, Sidney Robinson, Helen Leff Rosenberg, Richard Henry Roth, Zelda Roth, Charles Ruxon, Daniel Samuelson, Dorothy Samuelson, Charles Schroeder, Robert Shapiro, Gerald Silber, Morley Sklar, Helen Snyder, Myron Sturman, Doug Sussman, Lena Lee Schwartz, Phyllis Bank Tabak, Judy Tallman, Eileen Taub, Bruce Teichholz, Craig Traeger, Warren Weiskopf, Michael Werner, Sandy Wesley, Irmgard Wessel, Louis Wool. We bear in mind also the names of those who died in defense of the United States, those who died in defense of the state of Israel, those who died through senseless acts of terror and horror, those who have no one to say Kaddish for them. If there are other names to be mentioned, or if I have mispronounced names, please speak their names now in your hearts or out loud. We join together in Kaddish. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah v'alma divra chirutei v'yamlich malchutei v'chayechon uvyomechon v'chaye dechol Beit Yisrael ba'agalaf v'zman kariv v'imru amen. Yehi Shmei Rabba Mavarach, Li'olam Li'olmei Almaya, Yitbarach V'yishtabach, V'yitpa'ar V'yitromam V'yitnaseh, V'yitadar V'yitalev V'yitalal, Shmei Kudisha Barichu, Le'ila Min Kol Birchata V'shirata, Tushbachata V'nechamata, Da'miran V'alma V'imru, Amen. Hey Shlama Rabba min Shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. Oseh shalom v'imru malv, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. May God, who makes peace in the high places, make peace in our hearts, make peace in our homes. Make peace in the household of Israel. Make peace among all the families and nations of earth. And let us say, Amen. Once again, my friends, The high holy days are coming to their peak. May you find the services meaningful and rich. And may our souls be touched and lifted to meet a God who is waiting for us. Shabbat Shalom. Gemar
Shabbat Shalom.
Shalom, Mar Tova. Thank you so
Shabbat
much.
Shalom.
See you all next
Thank
week.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shana Tova.
Shana Tova.
Oh yeah.